Alright, what is going on, my dudes? Today we're showing off a rank up that honestly might just be the most overdue rank up in MCOC history. Now, this is a champion I have always loved quite a bit, and honestly, I can't even tell you why they weren't ranked 3 all this time. But regardless, the time has finally come, and Vulture is up at rank 3. Now, I have said for years now, we're coming close to 2 years since Vulture was buffed, that Vulture is one of the most underrated champions in the entire game. He has a lot of utility. He can do a lot of very interesting things to counter some very difficult defenders and some very difficult nodes. And he can also kind of hit like a truck, especially if you play him properly stacking armor breaks. So if you are newer to MCOC or you don't remember because it's been so long ago, the tech class was absolute hot garbage. It was so freaking bad. And then there was like a run where like every other month, one or more tech champions were just getting buffed, and pretty much all of them were pretty good. And now the tech class is decent, and there are a lot of great champions in there, but at the time, there really were not many amazing tech champions, and Vulture got buffed. Then the next month, Howard the Duck came out, and as you guys know, I love Howard the Duck very, very much. But regardless, this video is about Vulture, and we're going to talk about why I finally took this guy up, and I'm going to show you some footage, just some generic fights, and I'm going to show you a ridiculous synergy team for him, and then I actually have some Alliance War gameplay as well. But before we do any of that, let's go check out our normal fight. So up first, we have our buddy Deadpool here. Now, we do have suicides on for the first fight here. Did not want to take them off on the live server. So yeah, basically, if you don't need any specific utility, what I like to do is just stack up these armor breaks. They last for quite a long time, and as you can see with just one of them, yes, with suicides on, you start to crit pretty nicely, man. We're seeing some very decent yellow numbers out of this guy on his basic attacks. But what I'm doing here is I'm using my Guitar charges, and we now have all 5 of them, and we're going to go for a special 2, and that's a giant 56k crit there on the special 2, and Vulture and just completely flushed Deadpool right down the toilet there. So I've seen a bunch of people be like, oh, Vulture still hits like a noodle. It's just not accurate. It's incorrect information when people say that. So it's just not true, okay? Now, of course, this is not how you're going to be playing Vulture most of the time, but if you really want to stack up that damage, you can stack up that damage pretty darn freaking good, man. But let's talk about what his specific utility set could actually do for the metagame here. So I went ahead and brought him into a nice little off-season alliance war here just for fun. We have a Void on Path 9 Hazard Shift with the Unsteady Ground defense tactic. So basically, whenever the defender uses a special attack, he's going to put a debuff on us, all right? Now, this is Hazard Shift, so it's going to be Incinerate and Poison. Now, if you didn't know this, Vulture is immune to Incinerate. Now, with the War Machine synergy, as you can see over to the left there, we're going to also gain an immunity to Poison, so we're completely immune to this node. And Void is going to be a very common defender here. It's going to be very, very annoying here. We also have the Cleanse passive on to get rid of the Bleed, okay, from the Suicide Masteries. So what we're going to be doing here is we're going to be using his Raptor Strikes, right? So I can continually drain his power. That way, he doesn't get a chance to launch too many special attacks, okay? Now, whenever Vulture gains a debuff that he would be immune to, okay, watch his Guitar charges. It's going to go up to 100 every time he would get poisoned or incinerated. So on these nodes, you can continually drain the opponent's power like so, as long as you keep the backdraft intercepts going. Here, got the Petrify on for a second, and I accidentally pushed him to a bar of power, so unfortunately now we have the Glancing debuff on us. And at the moment, I was kind of going for it, but I should have just not hit him. But I mean, it didn't even really make a difference because as you can see, that was Void flushed right down the toilet there in about 60 seconds. Hey, real quick, realizing while I'm editing this, one thing I didn't really explain here, we talk about his debuffs a little bit later on in the video. But the special 2 debuff, essentially every time the opponent gains any power at all, this is just a simple way to explain how this works, they're going to take some burst damage, okay? So check it out. When we go ahead at this point and we're doing damage to Void, right? You see those little red numbers and his health bar is just completely getting flushed down the toilet there. Yeah, that's where a lot of his damage comes from. It's the special 2 debuff. So let's get back into the video. We'll talk about the debuff a little bit later. Then yes, we did mess up because we did let him use that special attack, but let's say he didn't hadn't used the special attack, right? We would have finished off this fight about around 91%, which is really not too bad, man, when you're fighting a Void on Hazard Shift with this global, especially in under 60 seconds. That is honestly quite good. So after seeing damage in a vanilla setting and actually seeing him being used a little bit in Alliance War, how about we talk about why I finally took the plunge into ranking up a champion whom I love, which it's just so funny to say that, because if I like a champion, I rank them. I don't even think about it. It doesn't even matter. For some reason, Vulture's been ranked 2 since the day his buff went live. But yeah, here we go, man. So I was just looking at the Battlegrounds season, next season, the entire slate, all 4 weeks, right? And here we have the victory track. Okay, here's the victory track. Season 4 meta, electric defense. Each time the defender is struck while under the effect of an armor up buff, they'll power burn the attacker and you'll get, damage done to them. So, for the entire victory track meta, Vulture is actually going to be a very decent dual use attacker and defender, because he's going to have an armor up buff the entire time. Now, of course, this is very easily countered with an armor break champion, but if you have your opponent in a bit of a wall there and they don't have an armor break champion, you throw him on, they're going to be power burning on every single hit. So while he's not a tough champion to fight, from a meta standpoint, he's going to interact with the node very nicely on defense. The actual other node here, when struck, the defender gains a Keaton charge. At 10, all charges are removed, the defender gains an armor up buff. Well, as you saw, right, Vulture has a very easy to access armor break debuff on his heavy attack on demand. Very, very easy. So that's going to be very valuable on offense and also a little bit on defense. Going into week 2 here, there's polka dot power and stunning reflection. He is actually going to be phenomenal here, okay? So polka dot power, you don't get any power unless you have a damage over time debuff on the defender. Now, Vulture, when he dexes an attack, he actually puts an incinerate debuff on you. So you're going to be playing into polka dot power, but not only that, because the other node is stunning reflection. So you can't really parry on that node. But if you put an incinerate or a poison on the defender, you can stun them, and also you're going to have plus 40% attack rating. So he's going to be very great as an attacker during week 2. When you look at week 3, Hazard Shift, Incinerate, Poison. Now he's not going to be able to be poison immune, right, without War Machine active, but he is immune to Incinerate. So the thing is, that's going to be a very limited attacker pool as it is, and being immune to one of those 2 elements, that's going to be very useful. It's going to be a very RPG-focused week, but he does fit into it. For the final week, it's not going to do anything too special here, but it is Power Shield, and as you guys saw, that Special 2 did about 50k without Power Shield, so you imagine a giant Special 2 crit, it's going to do a decent amount of damage. So, is Vulture going to be the #1 Battlegrounds champion next season? Absolutely not. Am I telling you go rank your Vulture for Battlegrounds? Hell no, dude. But I'm telling you why I ranked him specifically now of all time is because I think he's going to actually be very useful for me next season. I'm very excited to use a champion that I love and I hardly get to use. So I just thought it was pretty cool, man. In fact, let me go ahead and show you another Hazard Shift fight in Alliance War. This one against Ebony Maw. Now, this one absolutely was not at all the cleanest fight at all. I definitely made a mistake or 2 in this one as well. But it's just, dude, I mean, it's Ebony Maw. We're going in at around 40%, right? We have the bleed debuff on us still. No more War Machine thingies left. So I couldn't get rid of the bleed. The thing with the global node, man, is like 1 debuff reduces your ability accuracy basically by 30% because it makes you glance, 30% chance to glance, which is very fun and annoying. But you're going to see something very interesting here. We're going to go for a special 2, okay, in just a second here. Here we go. And now, this is called a Siphon Burn. We haven't even talked about his special 1 and special 2 debuffs yet. But watch this, okay? When I go to get my dexterity buff here, in just a moment, give me the dexterity buff. There we go. Now, when Mystic Dispersion activates, watch his health. When I get rid of that dexterity, it happens in just a second here. We're gonna go here, use the phase to heavy attack through. 11,000 burst damage from the damage that he took. So the special 1 and special 2 with the siphon charge debuffs on the opponent, I made this explanation so much harder than I had to. Essentially, the special 1 and special 2 both put siphon debuffs on the opponent that siphon 25% of the power they would gain back, and the special 1 gives you Kitari charges back, and the special 2 does a lot of power burn. This works with combat power rate and ability power rate. And also, this is a really cool plush Gibble that I got recently. He's very big and I love him. So a Mystic Dispersion triggered on Ebony Maw, he's going to be doing that burst damage equal to the amount that was denied. It's always been a really fun and interesting way to deal with power gain of any kind, and it gets even crazier when you combine him with a couple of synergies. And this squad right here is absolutely nuts for Vulture, man. So now you kind of know how he works, right? Now, when you combine him with Kingpin, You can also gain immunity to shock effects when you combine him with War Machine. You can also gain immunity to poison effects. That's poison, shock, and incinerate. 3 immunities, and you're using good champions here. You can also use Ultron or Sentry if you really want to. There's also Massacre and Yellow Jacket up there. From Stealthy here is that you start the fight with the decoy buff, and also Vulture stores 5 Kitari energy when striking an opponent suffering from one of his special 1 or special 2 debuffs, and that goes really well with the Tigress synergy over here. When you activate your Raptor Strike, which is pretty much when you back up and go in, right, and you drain their power, it pauses your special 1 and 2 debuffs for 5 seconds. So this kind of allows you to keep them on for pretty much the entire fight once you start applying them, especially the trio of Vulture, Tiger, and Stealthy. 3 really amazing champions, and we're going to go ahead and take a look at that in action against that giant Hyperion at Act 6 with all of the power gain. We're going to see if Vulture can handle this guy and take advantage of all that power gain, all right? So first things first, what we're going to do here is we're going to make our way up to, I believe, a special 1 first, right? We're going to go to a special 1 first. That way we can keep the power flowing, all right? Now watch the Kitari charges. We're at 20, and instantly we're going up and up because he's getting a lot of power, right? Now, Hyperion special 1 is great for going back and just draining the power. So basically, this works really great in like questing content when you can stay very aggressive like this, and it's okay if maybe you get clipped or anything. Now, if you were to get clipped, that little circle passive that he has, that's a decoy. That's a decoy passive. So basically, it allows you to phase. But look at this. After the special 1, this is where we start burning his power, not just stealing the Kitari charges. Yeah. So at this point, man, we're pausing our debuffs, and we're stealing all of his power, and we're power draining him. We're going for the heavy attack there because we can, because we have the decoy passive, and I mean, that's just it. That's just it. It's a very fun and interesting way to deal with power gain. It makes him a fantastic Havoc counter, by the way, because he also has the armor up buff. So yeah, man, little bonus bit of sensational synergies thrown in there as well. But I probably want to make Vulture's sensational synergy video like one of his own as well, just because I really do love that team for him. Makes him very versatile. Triple immunity, armor up buff to deal with a lot of things, armor break to deal with a bunch of things, right? He has the decoy buff allowing him to phase attacks. He has an incinerate debuff. He has pretty much a lot of things going on, man. Great way to deal with passive power gain. His power control. He has a lot of other stuff as well. So Vulture, man, in my opinion, always been one of the most underrated attackers in the entire game. I do think he's going to be very useful in Battlegrounds next season. I'm very excited to do a video compilation of a bunch of Vulture fights. I'm definitely going to be picking this guy as often as I can, man. But yeah, dude, super excited to finally have this guy at rank 3, man. I think he's just absolutely awesome. So I'm super duper glad to finally have him up. He's been rank 2 since the day his buff went live. But that's it for this little toilet video. A little bit bigger toilet video than usual. Because I like this guy so much, man. I want to make some more Vulture content because I think he's just so cool. I think he's so neat. Plus, his character model, dude, is absolutely insane. Like, it's absolutely insane, man. Like, so freaking cool. But that's it for this one. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, drop your boy a big old like. Let me know what you think about Vulture in the comment section below. And make sure you hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any future. Maybe, hit the subscribe button so you don't miss the Sensational Synergies video on Vulture. Because there's really just a lot of potential for it, man. His triple immunity is a lot of immunities, man. And it can do a lot of fun stuff, too. But yeah, we'll see you in the around.